Hello and welcome to our Introduction to Online Learning course. We're here today with my favorite librarian, Scott Cowan, and we are going to talk about how to think about content when we start approaching your course. So when you're thinking about content, what exactly do you start thinking about? What are the things that you think about? What do you think people need to know?
A first thing is, personally, I always think about what are your goals and objectives, right? Rather than being, here's a textbook, here's what we teach. It is, what do I want the students to know and learn? But then it's finding those resources to actually meet those goals and objectives,
Right.
and making sure that those resources are actually usable, accessible, and sort of barrier-free for students are big things. But for faculty that are now going online, I think it's going to be a hopefully not as difficult transition to go from relying on maybe one textbook. We might have access to a textbook, but knowing that students now may have trouble getting textbooks to their houses right now,
Right.
that we may or may not have an ebook version of that textbook in the library available, that we may need to branch out and use a lot of different resources now.
I can just photocopy my textbook and put it on the internet. It's no problem there, Scott.
Sure, if you want to be sued, that's because if you have nothing else to do, you can get a big legal battle, and those are fun. But copyright is a huge issue for faculty, and we know that publishers have been very generous in some ways right now and sort of making some of their content more open and available, but they've put restrictions on them that they're only open and available for, say, like a month or 6 weeks.
Right.
And so I'm pretty confident that after that time period, they're going to be sort of crunching down on making sure that everybody has sort of followed with copyright licensing and things like that. So I strongly encourage everybody to go through their librarian to make sure that they have licensed material and they are using their material appropriately, because if it's on the internet, it is not free. One of the biggest things, I think some of the things that faculty normally struggle with is knowing that everything is copyrighted. Just because it's on the internet, it is not free. And even any image you take off of the internet is copyrighted. That is a copyrighted image that you have to make sure you follow sort of the right protocols or policies, or that you follow any sort of copyright exemptions to use that image in a PowerPoint. So
if I want to get this started, then I'm going to use my librarian. What does that process look like?
So if you go to our website, the ledi.uwindsor.ca, on the left-hand side, there is a contact us link. You click on that, you'll be able to find the librarian that is attached to your subject area. Every librarian is a subject specialist in what resources we have for that subject. So they will be, if you can email them and they'll be able to sort of set up a meeting with you, however they have it set up. Some of us do virtual meetings, some do email, some have whatever. So you can contact them how they want, and they'll be able to sort of walk you through what we have. My suggestion for that would be to say, here is my course. Here are the sort of overall objectives, or the things that I need, resources I need related to this material, to sort of give them a head start, so that your librarian can kind of go through and see what we have, right? And it may be also say, oh, you know what, we actually have the textbook that you're used to using. We actually have that as an e-version that is available.
Right.
And if we do, then that's great, because then students can just log on, and if it's through the library portal or through the library link or through our website, then we have already paid for the licensing for you. There's no reason to go through and try to figure out whatever else you need to do. So you can then take that and put that onto our course reserve system.
Which actually a librarian's job, right? This is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes. So what I like to do, not everybody librarian does it the same way. Everybody is different, the same way that every faculty is different. I like to kind of go through with faculty and look at their syllabus, and look at sort of what their week lectures are, or their week by week lectures are, and I'll try to find resources that match that week's lecture. So I've had some faculty already that have had some success in just saying, this is what I'm doing, knowing that, you know, the textbook that we use is locked down. Here's what, you know, and I can go and say, here are some of the resources that we have, and I can either send them the PDF through the library portal, or to sort of direct them to a link and say, here it is.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and that you were talking about earlier before this, is Legato. What does that process look like of finding these resources and doing stuff with them?
So similar, if you go to the leti.uwindsor.ca, and on the left-hand side column, there is, I'm going to forget what it's exactly called, but it's sort of like course reserves or submit course reserve lists or course resource lists. And you click there, it'll take you through Legato. Legato integrates with Blackboard. So
Oh, cool.
what you can do is once you go into your sort of Legato site for your course, you're allowed to drop in PDFs. You can drop in links from our catalog, the library catalog. You can drop in links from Amazon, from wherever, whatever it is that you want to build in terms of reading lists or videos. You can drop in YouTube videos into Legato. And what the library will do on sort of on our end is go through and make sure that everything is copyright compliant and make sure that everything sort of passes either fair dealing or that we've paid for a license, or if we need to pay for a license, we will go through the process then to kind of pay for licensing fees. And then you can go into Legato and chunk it and be, this is our readings, these are our chapters, these are videos, and you can set it however you want, so that in Blackboard, students can just go to the link that says like library resources, and they'll have all of their course readings, all the videos, everything you want for them to do in their course in that one spot on Blackboard, rather than you trying to like upload a PDF, put it in a file folder, doing this, label it this, upload it, and rather than mishmash, it's all in one spot for them, which is great.
That's fantastic. And the other option, of course, is to find resources that are online that are actually open educational resources. Those can
Right.
be good too, but we're going to do that in a separate video.
Yes.
Scott, anything else you'd like to add?
The biggest thing, just to go along with, if you're going to sort of talk about open stuff, if you go to like Google Images, you can sort through what copyright licenses there are, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But just make sure that you are not just taking from the internet, copy pasting. That is a big no-no. And don't just sort of take a PDF of an article or something that you've had without going through the library saying like, can I use this? Is this fair? Is this fine?
So the upside of all this is the library is there to help you get this sorted out.
Yes, we will make sure that you have the resources, those resources are being used legally and fairly, and that they're accessible to all the students.
Fantastic. Thanks, Scott.